All right, so in the general Grevious tattoo, the reason why we add the texture first, and a lot of times the texture is really just like little squiggly lines that we barely penetrate the skin with, because we don't want to traumatize the skin too much, because we have to layer it. And the reason why we layer it is because we don't want the texture to be too dominant. Now, it just depends on the type of texture you're trying to create. Now, if you're creating like elephant, like roughness in the elephant's trunk, I almost said elephant's beak, elephant's trunk, you're gonna want like a deeper, harder, more prominent line. But with this, where it's just like metal, you know, he was in a fight and other stuff, you wanna keep it minimalistic. So you do it really fine linely, just very superficially, doing all of these little parts and then adding layers above it. So what you're doing is you're creating layering above that to create the overall saturation of the color of the actual metal. And then what you'll do is, what happens is that when it heals, you actually get to see the line work through, and it doesn't traumatize the skin too much. So you just gotta be careful with how much depth you put the needle into the skin. The way I look at color realism is very similar and akin to colored pencils. With colored pencils, you can't erase them, you have to go light, and you just keep layering and layering until it can't be packed in anymore. And you can actually overpack skin, which you can kind of tell what that looks like. It's not very smooth, it looks a little patchy, there's like darker spots in areas, and especially with red you can definitely see it. But when we layer, the reason why we do it with darker colors first is because we want to see the contrast between what the dark color looks like on, like if your reference, on your reference, whether that be an iPad, which your iPad actually makes saturation a lot brighter, or whether it be just a printout, and comparatively to skin. So when you're looking at your reference from a printout, it's on white paper. So the color is going to look different on someone's skin tone. So the reason why we start off with darks first is so that we can see what tones we're going to need, not just color, but what tones we're going to need in order to create that illusion of realism and depth. And then we layer other like lighter midtones on top of that, and then obviously lastly stating with your either your skin tone or your lightest tone that you're utilizing for your colored piece. is making things glow, and I love that there's a lot of lightsabers in Star Wars, so you can actually have things like glowing off of each other. And the way that we do this is actually pretty quick. It's really easy, especially if you're going to do it within the you're going to obviously want to create that in your reference photo first. And so normally with this, it's like taking your mid to light tone from where you're creating the lightsaber. So for instance, this green, we're utilizing like dark greens all the way up to light greens, all the way up to like white and skin tone. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the mid-tone in between that and have it as though it's reflecting off of the back of General Grievous's head. So what we do is in that effect is that in your reference, you're always going to want to create the illusion of light bouncing off of it, especially if there's a lightsaber involved, so that it looks like it's a part of the scene. If you don't have that, it's, just bad composition. And so you're going to want that light. Easiest way to do this without having to mess with the reference of General Grievous too much is just literally sticking, instead of adding lighter tones of the gray in the metal, you just add the mid to light tone of that green. Now, we can get into really big depths on this, on how we can make this illusion look really, really good and how light actually works. But for now, if you are beginning or you're like medium, I don't even know what you call that. It's like not a beginner, but not like a master. You're moving to master of how you create composition. Medium, that you're gonna want to create. You're gonna want to understand how lighting works, especially if you're a realism artist. So, but for this is a quick, easy hack that you can create a scene with lightsabers or light bouncing off of things just by utilizing the mid to light tone of that color of the light that you're using.